Hello and welcome to channel number 6 with Dick. We are here with special conversations with scholars. We have Professor Ishtiaq Ahmed with us, who is Professor Emeritus of Political Science in University of Stockholm, Sweden. Simultaneously, he is Senior Fellow, Institute of South Asian Studies, National University of Singapore. He has wide interests in research areas, that is partition, human rights issues, minority rights issues, and nationalism. He has worked extensively on issues of South Asia. His important books are The Punjab, Bloodied, Partitioned, and Cleansed. Another book is Biography of Muhammad Ali Jinnah, and another book is Pakistan, the Garrison State. And recently he has come out with a book that is about contribution of Punjab in Indian cinema. He is with us. We will talk to him about his book, The Punjab, Bloodied, Partitioned, and Cleansed. Professor Ishtiaq Ahmed, you are welcome here.
It's a great pleasure, privilege, honor to sit with you. We have been in touch for a long time, so I'm delighted to meet you and your colleagues here. And so the question.
Yeah, so we will talk about the book, The Punjab, Bloodied, Partitioned, and Cleansed. So first of all, the curiosity is that the title says Bloodied, Partitioned, and Cleansed. Yeah. Is there some chronology behind this title?
Absolutely, you have struck the nail on the head. The title says The Punjab Bloodied. This is March 1947. Partitioned. Mountbatten comes and the discussion starts on the future of India, ending with the decision of 3 June 1947 partition plan. And on the 14th and 15th of August, Pakistan and India celebrated their independences. But the international border between them was not yet declared. And the Radcliffe Award, which is the basis of the border between the Indian and Pakistani Punjab and the rest, was ready by the 13th of August, but Mountbatten had to preside over the independence ceremonies of first Pakistan and then India, and he wanted that after that was done, the award should be declared. And so on the 16th, in the evening, the leaders were told that this is going to be the future boundaries between India and Pakistan, Punjab, and so on. And on the 17th of August, All India Radio then announced the Radcliffe Award, which part was where. So that is the basis of the second phase. The third phase then is when on both sides, two governments come into power, which instead of being the type of neutral government one expects, they became party to what was going on. So the 6 million Muslims from East Punjab were forced to run for their lives or get killed. And from our side, 5.5 million Hindus and Sikhs met a similar fate. So cleansed. After December 1947, except for Malerkotla, a very small state, where the Muslims were left in peace, there was no trace of Muslims virtually. And from our sides, no Hindu and Sikh could be seen. So the ethnic cleansing, religious cleansing that we know of about from the dismemberment of the state of Yugoslavia is a term I say after the Second World War. This is the first case of not only people running for their lives, but from two sides, unwanted minorities are driven out, and that means cleansing.
Okay. So that informs the title.
That informs the title.
So in the acknowledgement, as you have already started that point, you have written that there is some kind of similarity. Similarity is the word which I am using, it's not written by you. So there is a kind of similarity between Jew Holocaust
Yes.
and then ethnic cleansing in Yugoslavia,
Yeah.
then genocide in Rwanda and Darfur.
That's correct.
And then you wrote that the kind of irrationality and aggression
Yes.
shown is bedeviled with civilizations, antique civilizations.
That's correct.
So, what made you understand that there is similarity between Jew Holocaust
Yes.
and violence in Yugoslavia and Rwanda and then partition?
You see, there are two words, genocide and ethnic cleansing.
Yeah, you have used both.
Yeah.
One with Yugoslavia and the second is with Rwanda.
Yeah. And in the existing literature, this distinction is not made, but I do. I say that genocide is when the intention is to physically destroy a people. That's genocide. The second is ethnic cleansing, that you want to purify a territory of unwanted minorities. And if they resist, then they are killed.
So wipe out a community
Wiping,
or
yeah. Not
territory.
necessarily aiming to destroy them altogether, but to eliminate from a territory you think they are not wanted in. So I say that what happened in the Punjab is ethnic or religious cleansing, because if 10 million people in Punjab cross the border
10 million
Yes.
across the border.
and 8 lakhs were killed, when the total population of Punjab, including the princely states, was 34 million, then what we see is that both sides now wanted unwanted minorities to be thrown out. But if they resisted, or in order to expedite it, they were also attacked. So the intention was not from day one that all Hindus and Sikhs will be killed in West Punjab or all Muslims will be killed in East Punjab, but that these unwanted minorities will be eliminated. And then I say, I prefer ethnic cleansing or religious cleansing for what happened in the Punjab.
Okay, so you started writing this book in 2005-06 when you started your field work.
Yeah.
Before that, you wrote a piece in 1999. This is
Yeah.
what I know. So
Yes.
that was when you were invited for a seminar.
Yeah.
And when you started working on this book in 2005, it means by that time you were, say, 58, 59?
Yeah, I am born 47.
47.
Yeah.
So what made you understand, or what was the inspiration behind this, that you need to write this book?
That's a good question. Actually, I grew up with partition stories, horrible acts of violence from my family itself. You see, on the 12th of August, my mother, we lived on 57/112 Temple Road, Lahore. Only 200 meters away is the Chemi Badshai, a famous Sikh temple. So, anyhow, our area, Muzang, Lahore, was a Muslim majority area. So, my mother, at that time in August, Lahore was burning. People were running and so on. So, she happened to look out from the window and she saw that on her right hand, all the notorious criminals of Muzang, Muslims, were gathered. And she understood that they are either going to do something in this place or go on a mission to kill or burn and loot and so on. Then from the left came a Sikh gentleman on a motorbike. When he came close to them, they moved forward to attack him. He pulled out a gun and shot fires. So they, ran away. And he passed safely. Then about 20 minutes later, a Sikh carpenter came on his broken down, dingy bicycle with the food for the day, we call in Punjabi, potli, tied to the handle. And as always, he was just going to work. When he approached these people, they pounced upon him and killed him mercilessly. My mother later on joined me in Stockholm, Sweden, and died in 1990. Till the very end, this trauma never left her. That a horrible thing happened to this poor old sick gentleman. At the same time, where we lived on Temple Road, in front of us were the shops. In one of the shops lived an old man who every evening would come out and start abusing the whole world in the worst of words. And then he would close the door, but the street urchins would come and knock at his door and say, Lala Churunji Lal, Chala Churunji Lal, and again he would come out and start abusing. So this happened every day. In 1953, martial law was imposed in Punjab, especially Lahore, because of the riots between the Ahmadiyya or Qadiani community and the Muslims. And so the military would patrol all the roads, pointing their guns towards the windows to see if somebody was going to throw an object or so. And then this man came out and started abusing, and they wanted to kill him. It was just in time somebody intervened and told them that this man has lost his mental balance. He was from Haryana somewhere, spoke a coarse, rough type of Urdu. And his story was that he married and his wife died when a boy was born to him. So he alone had raised this boy. And in 1947, his son, who was maybe 15, 16, was killed in front of his eyes. So he was mentally shattered. So every evening he would curse the whole world. Then the military let him. So I grew up with this one story and one my own observation. Actually, Lala Churunji Lal's real name was Lal Muhammad. But this was the way people used to provoke him, and he would come out and abuse.
Okay, so these were your childhood memories, like most of the people from your generation.
That's correct.
And then you started working on this book that is supposed to be an academic pursuit.
Yeah.
So once you have that kind of memories, which can make a person subjective, and simultaneously they can contribute to make the person blind about judgments. So as an academician, what was your methodology that you, memory don't blind you, and you work as a proper academician?
I think this is the best interview I'm having in explaining my methodology and all. This is really truly academic. You see, as I grew up, I also read Manto, Toba Tek Singh, Christian Chandar, Peshawar Express, Rajinder Singh Bedi, Lajwanti, Ashfaq Ahmed, Gadariya, and then later Khushwant Singh, Train to Pakistan, and one can go on and on, including Ramanand Sagar's great novel, Aur Insan Mar Gaya, and Humanity Died. So already the
volume of literature is there.
This objecting or doubting the wiseness of the partition was in my eyes all the time, because literature told us that anybody who was weak was attacked, and so there was no one community to be blamed, but all, and all communities were also victims. And then I saw Yugoslavia crumble and broke in front of my eyes when I was a teacher at Stockholm University.
And Europe provide you a different lens.
Yes, I wanted to now find out what happened to the Punjabis. So my own neutrality, as you say, was already established. I knew this was not just one community doing it, but all. And maybe by temperament, I'm also seeking justice all the time. So for me, it was important. The problem now was that the existing literature was all there in fictional literature. When it came to academic literature, neither the Pakistan government, nor the Indian government, nor the British wanted much research to be done on it, because all three would be proven culprits in what happened. So no academic research was conducted
So I
on
would
our
just
side.
like to punctuate this chronology.
Yeah.
So in 1984,
Yeah.
when the violence happened in Delhi
Yes.
and surrounding areas, we call it carnage. At that time, lot of people came out and said that the partition memory is not dead. It is as fresh as it can be. Whereas people tried their level best to forget it. And academicians and governments just assumed or propagated that it was an aberration. Whereas 1984 proved it otherwise. And thereafter, a lot of scholars, right from Kumkum Sangari, Urvashi Butalia, Ritu Menon, Kamla Basin, they wrote books. So that need to be taken into account.
That needs to be taken into account of what happened in India.
But they were revisiting partition.
Yeah, but I was about to tell you that in 1997, Urvashi Batalia, Ritu Menon and Kamla Bhasin had published 2 books, Urvashi alone and the 2 together, which I had also read. And what they had done was that up until now, research conducted in the UK was essentially based on the reports of the governors, fortnightly reports.
Government documents.
Yes, or chief secretaries of Punjab. Very little or no interviews with people who were affected. Maybe a speech of Master Tara Singh or Jinnah here and there. But these 3 ladies had shown how one can go and talk to people and tell the story. So, oral history as a valid source for telling the story of Punjab was done in India. In Pakistan, there was a complete silence. Talking about partition was questioning the reason why Pakistan came into being. From their side, partition was imposed by the, other side, and mostly the Muslims were killed. So there was no story telling the totality, the holistic version. But here, the 84 riots had opened once again the discussion. And these 3 ways of collecting memory had established their credentials. So when I entered as a political scientist. For me, the ambition was not just what happened to women, which was their focus, but what happened to the whole of Punjab. So I wanted to approach it in terms of the state. And the Hobbesian theory of state is that human beings, we all, are essentially power seekers, selfish, we want glory. And in the state of nature where there is no law and order, it is a war of all against all. And life is short, brutish and nasty. Because if we are both equal and we are both free, then if your nature and my nature is to dominate one another and to acquire power, then how do we do it? I kill you before you kill me. So Hobbes says that that part of human nature then has another side, and that is the rationality of survival. So that made human beings realize that it is good to have a state with a law and order and administration so that things do not get out of hand, just left to human beings. So what was happening in Punjab when I started reading the reports of the governors was every 2 weeks, they were telling us that the situation in Punjab was deteriorating. Here attacks had started. This was the ideas which were being promoted, and this was lead towards a bloodbath. So this was one source, the British sources, but those sources are closed on the 14th of August when power is transferred. Did the governors on both sides, Trivedi, I think, on your side, and I think Francis Moody on our side, did they continue to write fortnightly reports of what was happening? We don't know, because if they did, that's still classified. But now, if there are no official documents to tell the story, what do you do? So this idea of going to speak to people affected, which the three feminists had done, I then had a whole questionnaire which begins with, where were you born? How do you remember that village? What were the ways people, the way of life there? And as the situation deteriorated, what sort of things happened? Did the Muslims and Hindus, Sikhs live in peace? Who started the riots? So it's a whole set of questions which I developed, and I didn't want to confine it to a handful of women. I wanted all parts of Punjab to be included. Ultimately, the book, for which I had been given a grant for 3 years, I took 11 years to complete it to my satisfaction. I had collected more than 400 oral histories, of which 262 are in the book. Almost half of Hindus and Sikhs and half of Muslims. This just happened by chance, that they are equal when you count them. I didn't count, somebody did it for me. Okay, sir, it's so close that the two sides which were involved in this, you have half of the stories in it.
Okay.
One thing more, I just didn't write like a historian. I wrote like a political scientist. What happened to the state? And the Hobbesian state of civil law started losing its authority. The Governor Sir Evan Jenkins is writing that these things are happening and things are getting out of control. So I said the state of nature was now reverting back to the state, the civil state was losing its grip, and on the 14th, 15th night, the state of nature came into being, because nobody knew what belongs to Pakistan and what belongs to India in the Punjab. And so there were people who were being attacked indiscriminately, but it was like no law and order at all. But on the 17th of August, when the Radcliffe Award became public, then on both sides, proper administrations came into being. But these administrations were not behaving according to Hobbes' civil law state, where the state is neutral in the conflicts of people, but they became partisans. The state in East Punjab was complicit in the expulsion of Muslims from that area, and the Punjab administration on our part equally. And that is why I think at the end of the day, of the 1 million people killed in the whole of India, 800,000, 8 lakh, are just Punjabis. And of the 14 million who had to cross border, when India's population was 400 million and Punjab's was 34 million, 10 million had to cross the border, which is 30% of the population of Punjab. And at the end of the day, unwanted minorities on both sides were virtually gone. So that's the partition of Punjab. So I have a theoretical, conceptual, where I distinguish between genocide and ethnic cleansing. And so I prefer ethnic cleansing to genocide. The Sikhs and Hindus did not attack Muslims just because they wanted to kill all of them. They wanted them to get out of what became their Punjab. At the same time, so did the Muslims. Of course, many people were killed while this was happening. But the intention, I say, from day one was not to, as a whole, kill these people, but to get a territory where unwanted minorities existed.
Okay. So, in your study,
Yeah.
oral histories are really very important.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
When you talk to a person
Yeah.
who has a kind of traumatic experience, and that true traumatic experience of such a large scale,
Yes,
so the person is subjective. It is the anger, it is hate and injustice, all those emotions are there in the narrative when someone narrates his or her experience to an outsider, to a scholar.
That's correct.
And then it matters who is going to talk.
Right.
And then it matters what is the response of the respondent
Ji.
from the interviewee. So if the person is from state, then the person expects that some thing is going to be given, some compensation is going his or her way, and that way they formulate. So these are the questions around oral histories.
Yeah.
So then you need another set of skill set which can cross-verify their claims. Were there some method to cross-verify that?
First of all, I've said my research is at 3 levels.
Yeah.
The level of the state.
The state level is clear. You have
Clear.
Documents, you have reports, and
That's
you have
right.
letters written to people, and then there are things that are already recorded in the books.
That's. Second are the daily reports of the Tribune and the Pakistan Times. One representing the Muslim League point of view, the other the Congress, let's say, Sikh point of view. But I have not gone after the editorials. I have gone after the reporting. So they were reporting what was happening. So the chronology of how, for example, famously in March 1947, it started in Lahore, but then it subsided by the middle of March. Then in May 1947, the Gundas, Muslim Gundas of Amritsar, they sent bangles to the Gundas of Lahore, Muslims, saying that here we are making the Hindus and Sikhs run when they are in a majority. And you are 60% in Lahore and you are not attacking the Hindus and Sikhs. Now, this is another story. I grew up from day one in my family and in the areas. Then while going through the Tribune and all, I noticed a press conference given by the Deputy Commissioner of Lahore, Mr. Eustace, that we have discovered a set of bangles sent by the Gundas of Amritsar to the Gundas of Lahore. So this story was no longer people
Just
telling a
curiosity.
story.
So it was verified, cross-verified with
I
the newspaper
even
report.
traced the family of Eustace and talked to his wife, who was alive. Not his wife so much, but his daughter, because I think the wife was very senile by that time. So I have given all that in my book. So, and another thing, on a few occasions, I was able to trace people who were there at the same time when something happened, like Tamali, or Dhamali is a village in Rawalpindi. I met a Indian diplomat, Moni Chadda, Surinder Chadda, a Sardar from Rawalpindi, who told me about a relative of his who was now in Kapurthala, that he belonged to this village and that was a Sikh majority village and it was wiped out except for a handful of people. So first I went to Kapurthala because I used to come every year in winter from 2003, 4 and 5, and went to Kapurthala and met this gentleman, Ranjit Singh Bhasin was his name. His story is very shattering. Then the next year I went to Tamali, the village, and traced two persons, the Muslims of that village who were still there, 13, 14 years old. So the same story then is corroborated from both sides, how it is remembered. This happens in about 10, 12 times. In all other instances, my argument is that a trained researcher can easily identify if the person is telling a pre-prepared speech, and mostly it is people who have a political position, or they are writers, because they already are prepared to say this. The common man who for years has been living with the trauma just lifts it off his chest. And in doing that, I see no reason why they should be lying. What they do, however, is that maybe they were illiterate, so they can't count how many were killed, and they can't recall exactly the dates. They would give me the Punjabi months, Sawan or Bhadon da mahina hai si. And then as you go and check the reports of those times, you do realize that odo eh hoya si.
Okay, that
so in
explains
that way, it's not simply a collection of oral histories, but they are placed in an order where the actual cleansing is taking place, and there are all the stories verifiable by the newspaper reports as well.
That explains your methodology.
Yeah.
I'll come back to you and we will continue talking about your book in the next episode.
My pleasure. Thank you.
So with this, Professor Ishtiaq Ahmed has explained the methodology he has adopted to write the book, The Punjab, Bloodied, Partitioned and Cleansing. We will continue with this conversation in the next episode. In the next episode, we will talk about the book in more detail.